Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Anne Coleman and I am a French student in social sciences. But today we will be talking about a specific topic, market failures in science. Basically, in free market theory, there is this strong idea that prices of goods and services are regulated and determined by the forces of supply and demand. But this equilibrium may be distorted or challenged by external factors such as government regulations, monopoly power, and so on. And therefore, the market doesn't produce as much value as it could because of an inefficient distribution of resources, basically. So to apply market failure theories to the field of science is in itself a controversial issue that I will not dwell on right now. But just keep in mind that some scholars disagree with this premise of my proposition. So I will be looking at science as a social process, and more specifically, I will be looking at the different mechanisms creating such market failures in the field of science. And finally, I will interview briefly Kirk, a libertarian socialist engineer holding a PhD from the University of Oxford in chemical engineering. So one of the reasons to explain market failures in the field of science is knowledge monopolies. What is knowledge monopoly? It is when a scientist is withholding purposely information and data about his research in order to monopolize further innovations in his specific field. And this is a very common thing that we can observe in the field of science. It is not necessarily malicious, but it is easily explained if we consider science as a market. Scientists can be understood as rational actors behaving in their own self-interests. This must be articulated with another problem inherent to the field of science, which is poor credit assignment. Indeed, credit is the primary reward for scientists. It will improve one's influence, and influence can be converted into funding, into jobs. It is what Bourdieu would call symbolic and social capital. This will tend to keep scientists from coordinating, and in return, because scientists don't coordinate enough, they tend to be working on similar objects or very close topics. This specific phenomena is called scooping. When you are scooped by another group, it is when you've been working on a topic and another group of scientists or someone else publish their work before you and gets all the credit. We are now welcoming Kirk to the studio. Thank you, Kirk, for coming to the studio today and answering my questions for this interview. Welcome.
Thank you, it's a pleasure.
Could you give us examples of initiatives within the field of science that are trying to go against unfair competition and, on the other hand, contribute to more justice in terms of credit assignment?
Yeah, in my relatively few years of doing research, I've noticed increase in the amount of funding going towards open source collaboration and actually developing, say, like software and modeling tools between different groups. Ordinarily, this wasn't popular or funded in one because funding bodies want to fund fundamental research, and also people want citations for the work they do, and software doesn't give citations. But there's been a shift in this attitude, and contributions can be quantified in these shared repositories of code, and so people are now starting to look to these repositories to see who's contributed what to which project, and then this now can be viewed as an additional metric as a researcher in addition to citation count and H-index. And as a result, funding bodies are seeing these as tools to promote the usage of their research outputs, and so there's more funding going into actually developing these open source software and creating a community around that, which I think is a positive movement against this inefficient form of competition that you see commonly.
So you are almost holding a PhD from the University of Oxford, and I was wondering if you ever got scooped in your research experience.
Yeah, it's come very close several times. I've certainly been very stressed about it, and still currently, and worried about someone publishing the ideas I think I have alone in my head. But yeah, on a few occasions, work has come out that is very similar to what I'm doing, but slightly different, or maybe they're more fundamental or applied than where I sit on the spectrum. So they're still not exactly where I am, but it still makes me uncomfortable and feel like I have to get my research out immediately without them finding out. And often I'm instead realizing I wish we could have just collaborated on this, because no one is ever doing exactly what the other person is, and if we have similar strengths, then we could collaborate and actually do something that's greater than the individual sum of its parts. But collaboration is difficult in academia because of this intense competitive nature.
And do you think this fear is affecting the quality of your research?
I think my research could be of much higher quality if I was able to freely collaborate with external groups, which I mean we do, but it's a political process, and everyone is guarding their
very
secrets
cautious
closely. Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you, Kirk, for this very insightful interview. This, I do not doubt, will give hope to all of the scientists of the world fighting against capitalism every day. Maybe we are capable of generosity after all.